Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Alexa's Publishing Chat. This is a different kind of episode that I am thrilled about. I think you're going to get lots of great information and insights from this. I have five authors who write in different genres and have had very different experiences and backgrounds, and even very different lengths of time as being an author. And we're going to talk about their journey to become authors, the marketing tips that they or experiences that they have, what worked, what didn't. And yes, in full disclosure, they are all graduates of the Book Launch in a Box marketing program. So I am taking the opportunity to highlight their successes and what they've learned from being a part of that community and program. They're also all very dear friends to me that I've had the pleasure of many of them meeting in person or working with for a long time. And I can't wait to have you meet all of these wonderful women. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and introduce each one of them and give them the opportunity to tell you just a little bit more about them. And we're going to start with Linda. She has been Linda Needham has been traditionally publishing romance books for a long time and recently published her first nonfiction book. So tell us a little bit more about you, Linda.
Thank you. Yes, I started my career back in 1974 when I read my first historical romance of the new genre, and I went from there. By 1995, I sold my first one, sold 10 more to HarperCollins, and in 2005, I left the industry because I wanted to do other things. And then suddenly independent publishing came about. And by the time I got my titles reverted to me, the 10 that I'd written with them, and was ready to start issuing them, the world had changed. And I didn't know anything at all about marketing my book because my publisher did it for me. So that's why I'm here. That's why I love women in publishing and the BLAB sessions and all of that. And so I don't know what I'd do without you guys. I just
Oh,
don't.
that's so sweet. I think it's really funny that the acronym winds up to be BLAB because it never crossed my mind before until someone replied to one of my emails the other day and was like, I love that you called it BLAB because that's what we've got to do about our books is blab, blab, blab. And I was like, I hadn't thought about that, but you're exactly right. So how funny. Okay, next moving along, we're gonna say hello to Cece Robinson, our sci-fi dystopian post-apocalyptic kind of, you tell us where it fits. Author.
I'm like after the end of the world. So yeah, I'm a young adult dystopian author that started out career in finance and then went to medicine, nonprofit work, and all this stuff. So I didn't know anything about writing. And so I had to learn all that. And then when I went to kind of figure out if I wanted to go traditional route or the indie route, it just seemed like the indie route made more sense to me, especially with my background in business and running my own businesses. So I got involved with the Women in Publishing Summit, was completely overwhelmed at the fire hose of all the marketing stuff, as I know everyone on this call understands, and enrolled in Book Launch in a Box and got these step-by-step how-tos and just followed it. It's
Well,
been great.
and it's been so fun watching you over the years because when you first came into the Women in Publishing Summit community, I don't know that I've ever met anyone more diehard. I will not publish until I'm published traditionally with an agent,
Hmm.
and over the years you changed it. I'm so glad you did. Not that there's anything wrong with any route, but you wouldn't have two books out by now otherwise.
Yes, exactly. And yes, and more coming. And yeah, and I'm so much more happy in this route. I think I would have been fine in traditional, but I think the timeline would have frustrated me.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm really
exactly.
glad I went this route.
Next, we have Zariah L. Banks, our steamy romance writer, with two books published so far with very alluring deep blues and purple covers. I love the covers, and four more coming out in the next year. So, welcome. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Thank you so much, Alexa. So, I am a contemporary romance writer that tells bold stories with heart, heat, and healing. And so the gist of my writing is just to make sure that women feel loved and that they feel the capacity to be loved, not having to settle for anything less than what they deserve. I started off just always wanting to be an indie author. I never had an interest in traditional publishing, just wanted to do things my way and to write my own rules. But with that comes a very heavy need for marketing. You are not really going to be able to be successful without having a clear marketing plan. I'm more of like an ADHD free spirited kind of person, so structure is not really my thing. So when I was able to discover women in publishing as well as a book launch in a box, it was perfect for me. It was a no-brainer. Came into the program hoping not to be overwhelmed, and it was such a great experience. Everything was just mapped out for you, worksheets, even social media posts and hashtags and 30-day, calendars for planning your social media content. Those were all the things that I needed help with, to be consistent and to be able to connect with my readers. So I could talk forever about it, but I'm looking forward to this conversation.
And I've gotten to meet you twice, and it's always such a pleasure. You do. I didn't realize that was a mission behind your books, but I know from having met you in person that your vibe is definitely like, how do I make you feel like the most important in my life in this moment? And that was very special to me. So I love it that that's what you do in your books too. Okay, next we have Tracy Myhre, who is working on her second post-apocalyptic um, end of world books. First one, Escape, is out already. Please tell us a little bit, and you're our international representative from Canada. Words. Tell us a little more about you, Tracy.
That's why I'm wearing red today. Canada, yay.
Yeah, yay.
United States, yay. Um, yeah, I started young. I started writing when I was about 10. And so I have quite a few books under my belt that will never see the day of light. There, you know. And when COVID happened, I was already writing scripts. I had to learn how to do that. And somebody said that you need to put this into a novel. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with that. So I decided, well, I'm going to have to find a place that's going to teach me all the different things that I need to do in order to write. Now, I started out, of course, women in publishing, going to the summits, finding my community, trying to figure out what was happening in WIP school, and learning my craft before I really went into writing the book itself. I'd already written the script, so I already had the dialogue, but I didn't have all the exposition, description, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I did BLAB 3 times now because the information that's there is just so helpful, so needed, and you really need to understand how to start and where to end. And then you just do it over and over with each book. And that's how I began.
Well, thank you for that. I think that's one of our most appealing points too, is that once you're in and you can keep coming back to those Q&A sessions and all of that because it changes. Things out there change, or maybe you weren't right, didn't have all the things you needed to know when you first came into the program, and by the next year you're ready with other questions and new questions, or it's your questions are advancing. I mean, that's one of the things that I love now that the program's in its 5th year, and some of the same folks keep coming back and asking questions, but their questions are so different than they were 5 years ago in the program. So I love that, and love getting to continue to be part of people's journeys through their marketing and growing and making all the changes that come along with that. Okay, and last but not least is Pat Black-Gould. And Pat started off with me as one of my Purple Butterfly Press, my children's book authors, writing an absolutely just powerful, moving, and beautiful story about the hidden children during the Holocaust called The Crystal Beads Lauka's Journey. And then you decided to go off and self-publish another historical novel, but set in Vietnam and not a children's book. So, I'd love to know from you, when you're telling us a little bit about yourself, what made you make such a big jump, and how are those two books actually connected, even though they seem so different?
Thank you, Alexa. Yeah, they really do. I started out in the theater world, director, producer, playwright, so I kind of knew about the stage, but I, that was it's a different world, and moved into psychology, and then a number of years ago, as I was sort of semi-retiring, saying I want to write, and I started writing tidbits of odds and ends. I had this little short story on this girl about the Holocaust. I had some other things about the Vietnam War and everything. And I went to the summit, and something said to me out of the blue, the crystal beads just needed to happen. And I couldn't have made the timing better than connecting with Alexa and Purple Butterfly Press, because she made my dreams just come alive through that. And while that was happening, I mean, it was just a close connection with the team, at this, and I joined BLAB at the same time, but the close connection with the team really let me work through a process that was so new. And you find out writing, it sounds crazy to say, but writing's the easy part, believe it or not. It's in my mind. And people think that that's crazy. Okay, but writing to me is the easy part. And having such a great publisher and walking me through the stages and doing the marketing, I felt free, and I was just learning, but I can kind of sit back, And then all of a sudden, I do the second book, and I'm like, I can do this. And I thought I had a wealth of knowledge. I had some knowledge and everything, because you pick up as you go along through different stages, and you continue to grow and learn more through different stages. So I went back to BLAB, and thank God I did, because I was finding myself doing these errors, these things that BLAB was right there to boost me when I needed it, but and when I needed to get into trouble, was there to move me again. So that's what it helped. And it continues to do that, because we're all pretty much connected and stay connected, as everyone is saying here. So that continued support is really valuable. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate hearing these things about it too, because sometimes, as you know, as authors as well, sometimes when you put something out into the world, you don't really know if it's doing what you intend it to do, if it's having the impact. So hearing back from your readers, in the same way as this is helping me realize, okay, this is something of value that I need to keep working on and keep doing. So I appreciate very much all your positive affirmations here. The next round of questions, we don't have to go in the same order. If somebody's really excited and wants to get out there first, I really want to talk about maybe some of the challenges that you had that you needed to overcome, because I think that's one thing that brings authors, no matter what you're writing or what you're doing, that is a commonality, that marketing is hard, sometimes harder than we even thought it was going to be, but can be a lot of fun. So I'd love to know, first of all, would you rather just go in the same order so that it's easy, or is there someone that's ready with their answer and just really wants to go? I probably should have discussed this before we started recording, but I can just keep it. Okay, go. All right, Zariah, take it away.
No. So I use it. Oh, sorry, it's garbage day. One moment. Yeah. So I use a pen name. And so one of the issues that I guess that I had at first initially was, okay, I am this new person that was just pretty much created in 2019, right? So I don't have a footprint. I don't have a way of people to be able to Google me and find out who I am. And so it was really challenging for me to try to figure out a way that I could give my potential reader a way to get to know me. Before, during that trial period of trying to figure out if they wanted to purchase my first book. So first of all, I will say, I think I did book launch in a box in 21 or 22. I can't remember, but I am still using this marketing profile like it is my Bible.
Wow.
And it has everything you need, your metadata and your price listing and all of your stuff. Everything is all in one sheet. It is definitely my Bible and what I go to for everything. When someone asks for my bio, I can quickly go there. When someone asks for a synopsis, I can go there. When someone asks for a link to my Amazon profile, everything is there, and is one of the best tools I think that I use on a frequent basis. The other thing was Alexa introduced me to a book tour company, which helped me to really spread the word on release date. So that helped me to be able to address that issue and challenge of, okay, how do I get a wide kind of release versus going deep? That was an amazing way. I didn't even know there was a such thing as a virtual book tour. And so that was an introduction where Alexa personally gave me a name that I went with, and it was an amazing experience. So just trusted resources, giving you things to address the skills gap and giving you ways to be able to really show up for yourself, and face those challenges head on, because self-publishing is definitely full of all those challenges.
Yeah, that's a great additional challenge, but there's three of us in here who write under pen names. So that in itself, I love that you brought that forward, because whether you're doing it to hide who you are or whether you're doing it to separate out different genres and not confuse readers, like it is quite challenging to just establish yourself as a new person that, like you said, just appeared out of nowhere. So I love that particular point. Since Cece also writes on a pen name, I'm going to go to you next.
Yeah, I think some of what Zariah said is absolutely rings true in that building the social platforms. And I mean, you start out, you have zero Amazon followers, there's zero people following you on Goodreads, BookBub zero, like all of that. You're just starting new. But I think the biggest challenge for me was getting reviews that for that first book. And like you don't have the advanced readers, you don't have the flywheel of a great newsletter list yet. I was building it, but I mean, I didn't want it to be crickets on launch day. And I felt like even like I think getting even to like 20 reviews felt like just squeezing blood from a turnip. It was so painful in a lot of ways. And if I hadn't had the tools from Book Launch in a Box, I think that would have been even more painful. It's still a tough process. You got to do a lot of work. There's a lot of hustle involved in getting those first reviews, especially the first 20 or 30 reviews. After that, I think it gets a little bit easier. But Book Launch in a Box really hammered home how important those advanced review that system is. And now, like continuing to hone it with this next launch and launches thereafter.
Yeah, and on that note, I just want to, both of you have published two books and have more in the works, and I do want to just spend a moment to talking about the difference that that makes, and then we'll get to our other three authors on their feedback. Did you see when you launched that second book, did you see a much larger, like, was it easier the second time around? And are you seeing read-throughs from the first book too whenever you market the second book?
I'll go first then. I did. I saw a difference between the two experiences. When I released the first book, it was really, I didn't realize, as you mentioned, Cece, about the book reviews and how hard it would be. I said, oh, my friends, well, I have 50 friends. I can get them to. No, it was very hard. I had to actually approach about 150 just to get 50 reviews on Amazon and Goodreads. But the second time around, since I had the reviews from the first book, people, they look at you and they see your other titles and see that it has been verified. You have that social proof, you have the testimonies and the quotes. So that really helped me. And then also the knowledge that I gained from Book Launch in a Box helped me, because it wasn't as much of that overwhelming anxiety. It was more like, okay, here we go again. I already know what's ahead of me. I know what I have to do. I know that, oh my gosh, the timeline that you guys provide, that timeline is everything, like what to do 90 days before 60 days. So that timeline helped me to be more mindful about the journey as well. So all of it was great.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so this is actually my fourth book I'm releasing because I've got the two novellas.
That's
So I've
right.
got a novella companion series and the novel series. And the novellas, I really don't like push a whole bunch on the launch, but the novels I push more. It's interesting though, because this last season of time I've struggled with illness. And so I've had to adjust my launch plan. And as a result, I don't know that I'm doing the same amount of work that I did with Divided, but I'm seeing about the same results, which is interesting to me because I'm like, okay, maybe some things that I did before didn't really work, or they were not in the right time and maybe work better in book three or four. So it's definitely, it's a learning process, and every launch I think we get a little bit better
Mhm.
at it.
I just think it's a lot easier. I think Zaria nailed it when she said, you already have proof. You have that social proof, which is the hardest part, I think, about launching the first book is building that proof. So that's great. As my encouragement to everyone is to be working on your second and your third and your fourth book if you really want to be seeing the sales that you want to have a living as an author. All right, Linda, challenges and how you overcame them.
Well, I think my biggest challenge was after having written 12 historical romances, very plot-driven, character-driven stories. I was going into releasing a book that was nonfiction. The only character in it was me. It's a brainstorming your novel was the book that came out of actually a workshop that I attended at the summit in 2021, I think it was. Yes, yeah, or 2010. I guess it was 2022. I had this workshop that I'd given for 25 years to different writing groups, romance writers and libraries and all that kind of stuff. And it was great information. And I always thought there was something I could do with it. And there was something that somebody said at one of the panels that was about using your content that you've already created and turning it into an asset. And then being able to deliver that information to people who you think would really benefit from it. And I realized that I had this workshop, and while I was listening to this panel, I was pulling out that workshop out of my computer and putting it into a separate file. It's like, this is the book I'm going to write as soon as this person stops talking. So I literally launched out of this with that 2022 summit. And coincidentally and perfectly timed, the BLAB 22 started. And it was the first one that was really extensive. It was 3 months. Was it 3 months? Which was perfect for me because I already had not all the verbiage, but I had, the meat of this thing. And so I kind of used that as my impetus to develop this book into what I wanted it to be. And I was going to release it in 2023, which I did. And I have to say that switching my mind from, first of all, developing it myself, because when you're traditionally published, my publisher didn't want me to do any marketing at all. The big five, the big three. I mean, this was I stopped writing for them in 2005. This was prior to all this stuff. And I even had my publisher, call my publicist and ream her out for doing some publicity. Okay, so that's where I came from. And so I was sort of afraid of it. And so I had to start thinking independently in that way in marketing, which I'd been with BLAB. I mean, I've been with Women in Publishing, I think, since early 2020. So I'd been gathering all this information. So anyway, the most helpful thing for me was the module 1 positioning module that Pam Shepard ran. Oh my gosh, it blew my mind. I mean, Zariah, you talked about the profile. The second thing you do in that module is this positioning thing, and I found the module the profile fascinating and helpful too. But this positioning thing was, what is this book? What's inside this book? And why would somebody want to buy it? How can it help them develop whatever they want to develop? So I really, my mind was just blown about that. And through that, I got my title through that one little module and worked just to find out what that book was about. And it really helped me because, again, my challenge was going from fiction, which I know really well, to nonfiction, which was a different country. So anyway, that was my challenge, and I really appreciate it.
That's definitely something that I don't see covered. I haven't. It will probably start popping up now because people are realizing how important it is. But that time that you spend really learning and figuring out where your book fits in the marketplace. And I feel like that's a shortfall for many indie authors, is that they think they know what genre their book is in, but they're not really sure. They're not really sure with what the comp titles are, what other books are doing well. And
Sure.
that in itself, being able to position yourself, literally position your book, comparing it to other books that other people like and read and would find similar, making sure that your book kind of fits that same vibe in terms of the cover and the description and the pricing and all of those things. That's a huge part of making
Hmm.
marketing a lot easier through the process. So I'm really glad that was helpful for you, especially switching genres where you have to really, really do that deep
I got
dive.
to switch my head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were
I,
like a brand new author learning all of
yes.
the things. All right,
Yes. Yes.
Tracy. Tracy, you're up.
I'm up. You know, at the beginning, all I knew was I have to write. Now I know I have to do a lot of hats. I got a lot of hats going on. And I had to learn to market myself, market my book. Um, Pam, yes, definitely that particular module, yeah, that was really good. I use it all the time. I actually listen to it more than more than once. Every time I do a blurb, I go through that again. Blurbs are very challenging for me,
Mm,
and I had her help me out. I have her helping me out in the second one as well because she is really good at it.
hmm.
She can just pull anything out and then she just says, "There's the sentence." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh. Okay, perfect. I'll write that down." I also use the same profile that we originally got in the BLAB group for marketing, and I use that for each book. I've actually written one for each one already. I
Nice.
just have to put the ISBNs in and we'll just launch that book next. Um, Another challenge I had was marketing. So after you do the book launch,
Hmm.
then what do I do with it? And I had to learn where to go, who to help me out, which also helped because part of BLAB, of course, is learning different places to go and people to talk to and people that can actually help you launch that in different directions after the book is launched. Because after the book is launched, it goes high and then it goes low, and you want to keep it even keel. And that was a big challenge for me. I think I've overcome that. But, you think you're good, and then you think, oh, I have more to learn. And that's why it's always good to come back, and the community helps out when things are going down. They put you back up. So the best thing that happened was Alexa telling me to go into Kindle Unlimited, and I'm like, what is that? And that has worked out since I started that. So I'm even keeled now.
And I can't wait until you launch your second book, because what I'm excited about, I've written lots of nonfiction, but they're not all very closely tied to each other. And I haven't done a lot of marketing around them for a variety of things. But I started writing a romantic comedy. And the first book was just so much fun to launch. Really, really just fun. But the second book, I was like, oh yeah, this really works. This really, like, the strategy of having a series and the strategy of having multiple books in the same genre like that. I mean, they're not joking when they say that's how you make more money as a fiction author in particular, but even nonfiction, if you can have a series of books that would logically lead to the next book. And I can't wait to see the results from your second launch and even a little bit after that, because it's so, oh my gosh. I was telling the folks at Written Word Media the other day, because I love to use the free promos to a free download day. And I was like, for the first time, I'm actually getting Kindle page reads that I didn't like. I haven't been working for those this month. Like, it's just happening. People are going in and reading the books. And so that's super exciting. But anyway, that's the thing, is how one book builds on another. And we've got to get your second book out there so that you can have that experience too of seeing that. So
Mhm.
yay. Okay, Pat, you're up.
Ditto to the above. All the above. And switching genres is hard. It really is. And that's why I think I needed a second BLAB because I had to really go in a very, very different direction. So I had to rethink a lot of things. And of course, Pam's workshops was good, but all of them was good to try to figure out how do I move myself, how do I market myself as this different person, even though there's similarities, so many, in the story, it's a very different story. And just the constant getting the information because I take stuff and I'm trying to figure out what the differences are sometimes. What's book funnel? What's BookBub? And it's like I need, and how much do I do, and how often do I do it, and how overwhelmed do I get, and how do I write at the same time, and it's sort of like, okay, what can I do, and giving myself the space to say I'm going to do what I can do, with whatever I can, but remembering, oh, I need to look at this more, and just the reinforcement of hearing that as we reconnect in our groups and everything, is just a nice reinforcer to say, oh, look at that. And are connecting to each other, and offering each other those opinions, and hearing over and over again that you really need to do, more than one in a series. So I said, okay, the third book starting. I didn't think I was ever going to do it. I was going to stop at 2. That was it. That was going to be the end. That changed. So, you know.
But
That's what
don't
I
you
get from
also
hanging around with you guys.
don't you also feel like you get a little bit addicted to it when you start a character series and things?
That's exactly it. I couldn't let go, and I realized what I have to do is pull out some of my other minor characters and move on with this. And it was like I couldn't say goodbye to them. I was grieving them. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was having funerals for these people that I was like I just loved, and I'm saying I can't let you go. So I figured I couldn't let them go. So and then hearing this is you gotta keep doing it to get people interested there.
That's
So
great.
yeah, all of that.
Well, I'm going to go in reverse order on this next question. So I'm going to talk for a minute to give you all, I'll tell you the question is going to be kind of a lightning round of like your best piece of advice for somebody who's just getting started off with their marketing, and maybe two, if because sometimes it's hard to boil it down to just one thing. So think about that. I do want to just take a moment here, first of all, to thank all of you for coming out and talking about your journeys and say the wonderful things that you've said about Book Launch in a Box. I want to let people know that we are revamping the whole program. So while these core things that everyone has talked about will still be there, it's going to be even better because the longer you do this and the more experience you get, the more you see what was missing. And I had some things that were missing from the program that I can't wait to get out there. Pam is our super weapon in the program, Pam Shepard, with her millions of years of book marketing and selling advice. Don't tell her I said that. No, she's just such a knowledge of information and has been in the industry for so long. She knows. And she's redoing her, we're freshening up all of the presentations. So that'll be really good. So, and I'm true to the statement that if you purchased Book Launch in a Box in any of the extended years, then you get that all of the upgrades and changes and the new digital workbook I am the most excited about. Put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that thing. And I can't wait to hear people's responses to it because I'm like, oh, please let this be as good of a thing as I think it is. Okay, have I done enough dancing around now that everybody knows? And if you're listening to this after we've launched the 2025 cohort, first of all, we start on June 23rd of 2025. So if you want to be a part of that, go now because time is running out. Go grab your spot and get in with us. And if you miss that window, you'll have the opportunity to get on the wait list for the next time that we open it up. But we do only open it up one time a year so that we can start together, because I think another part of this is the bonds that form. And those bonds continue to grow. These folks were all in different places. And also, I want to point out that Zariah wasn't able to spend as much time in the in-person things or come to the Q&As or all of those. So if you're worried about not being there for the live portion, you still benefited even not being able to come into all the Q&As. So that shouldn't be too big of a factor for folks if you're not able to come to the live Q&As. They're always recorded. We have a Facebook group. You can submit questions whenever you want to. So that's the deal on the program. I want to say something else too. We all what I hear almost more from anyone that is not just how do I market, but how do I market without feeling gross? And I want to say I hate selling programs. Worse than anything under the sun, it makes me so uncomfortable. If you've been on one of my webinars, what usually happens is I'll give all this great information and then we get to the sales thing and I'm like, and we have this and we have this and I like fly through it because I hate selling it. But I have felt so comfortable talking about this program because I surrounded myself by 5 beautiful women who got the benefits from this and were able to market it for me. And it makes it so easy for me to talk about the program because I have this validation here, right? So I want you to think about that with your book marketing too, is build those raving fans so that you have other people who are gushing about your book so that you don't have to feel gross about marketing your book because you can say, well, Linda said, and Cece said, and Zariah said, and Tracy said, and Pat said, and you already have this amazing network of other people singing your songs for you. So, okay, that should have given everyone enough time to think about what your best tip is. So I'm going to start with Pat this time so she doesn't have to say ditto. She can
I will say it's the third anniversary of the Crystal Beads this month, which is fantastic. And the strategy is, I didn't know much about marketing, but there's one thing I did do. Consider marketing strategies when you start writing the book, because the aftermatter, that what's in the book, the afterward, can be incorporated into what you use for your marketing and your presentations and everything. That to me, for some reason, that came to me. Couldn't quite get there with the second book, but the material that I included in the afterward is stuff that I talk about a lot and just supports the book in general. So as you're writing, consider your marketing strategy and see if that adds something to your book or as a follow-up afterwards.
That's a great point. I'm really glad you said that because people often ask when they should join this. And the misconception from a lot of people is to start a marketing program when they're already done writing their book. But my feeling is you should start thinking about your marketing, to your point, when you're first writing, but not just because of the afterword and the things like that that you can put in there, but more because it will dictate how you do a lot of things. Like if you're thinking about your audience and the genre and all of that stuff from very early on, it may change some of the way you write your book. It will certainly change or influence your cover, your keywords, your categories, all those types of things. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. Okay, Tracy.
Well, I had 3 things,
All
and
right.
I'm going to start with one. You have to keep writing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just do all marketing and just forget the book or the series. You have to keep doing it. The
Yes.
hardest part is time management. Learn time, learn how much you're doing and what you're doing in that time period, and try to adjust it so that you are doing a balance of everything. And it's hard at the beginning because you really don't know where to start with that. And that's why it's always important to have community, always important to talk to other writers and understand how they're doing their time management. And I'm telling you, once you get that all ironed out, which will take forever, it does work for you. The other thing is don't stop learning. Don't just think, oh, I'm just going to go through this course. We're done. I don't need to talk to anybody again. That's not going to help you at all. You need to keep learning and you need to keep understanding how the industry is moving because it moves fast. And you need to know the new tools and all the different things that go along with that. Also, launching is not the end, it is the beginning. And it just keeps going from there. And you just keep doing all those other things at the same time.
All very good points. And the writing, yes, that's another thing people ask about is what if, I mean, and I think I've told you this before, Tracy. If not, I've definitely told people in the program. If thinking about your marketing is taking up so much brain space that you're not getting that book written, then go write because it doesn't matter what marketing you do if there's no book to sell. So great, excellent point. Okay, Zaria, you're up.
All right. I mine is find a street team. So you need to find ARC reviewers that read in your genre and read a lot. You need to have beta readers that can give you that great feedback that's going to catch those plot holes for you and that's going to catch those areas where they don't connect. You want to join Facebook groups because the Facebook groups are a great way for you to be able to have connection with other readers in your genre so that you can continue to read in your genre as you're writing. Book clubs, great community, a great way to connect with people who are consuming. And I like to join virtually so that I can get continuous feedback about what they liked and ways that I can expand and to see if I need to write a sequel. And lastly, writing community in groups. So make sure that you are part of a writing community, particularly workshopping or getting some type of feedback from other writers on your content, as well as your groups, because that is going to keep you relevant. It's going to keep you on top of your game, on your toes, and also knowledgeable about the trends that are happening in writing, such as tropes and other things that impact your content. So that would be my suggestions.
Those are great suggestions. You sound like an author coach. We'll talk about that in a minute. No, you brought up two things that I think are critical, and that is working on your craft. Always, always, always. I think that's one of the biggest things. No, you can put $1 billion behind marketing a book, but if it's a crappy book, it's not going to sell. So you've got to continue working on your craft and growing with that. And the second thing you said, it always surprises me when I hear people are writing books in a genre they don't read regularly. And I'm like, how? How can you? And the response I get from people a lot is, I don't want people to think I'm stealing their ideas. And that leads me to know that you don't know your craft. Because if you know your craft, you know that it's all formulaic and it's beats and it's, the things that you got to hit, and it's an arc, a story arc, and it's a formula. It's all the same. You can't steal anybody's idea because the formula for a romantic comedy, come on, it's always the same. There's no surprises. There's no surprises in what's going to happen. So, yeah, you may have a story that's similar to others, but what I think, if you're not reading your genre and you don't know how just what's going on, like Tracy said, I think it was Tracy, somebody said, the industry changes fast. Well, trends change fast too, how people are working within those genres. And you've got to be competitive if you want people to also fall in love with and buy your books. And then your final thing, community. Well, I'm going to stop. I don't want to say anything new because the other ladies might say other. I don't want to take away their things. So we'll stop there. But those two I think are critical, and I'm so glad you brought them up because they're very, very important. So thank you so much for that. Cece.
So something that I think not everyone has hit on yet is, because I think everyone else has already said like most of what I would have said. Thanks, y'all. But I think one of the things that has not been said yet is the timeline to launch is really important, and giving yourself a long road up to it. When I finished Divided, I barely had 2 months before the launch date. And Cage was similar, but with book 3, Betrayed, I'm going to give myself a longer leeway, and that will allow me to build up a bigger street team, as well as get at least one editorial review, maybe even 2, which I think are becoming more important for indie authors. The other thing I would say is the value of a community. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten stuck on something, gone into our BLAB Facebook group, and it's been solved within like 10 minutes. Or someone else has had the same experience. I asked a question in there the other day, and someone else was like, "Oh, I'm in one right now. DM me." And so we got this conversation, and then 3 days later, the people were like, "Well, can you share with the class?"
We all want to know.
I want to know too. And so having a community of other authors to quickly bounce ideas off of is invaluable. But also having a reader community, just like Zariah said, about knowing what's hitting and what's not, knowing the tropes that are really popular in your genre. Like right now in YA, it's all about found family and like hope and redemption arcs. Like all of that is just huge right now in YA dystopian. And so you got to know that, and you have to read to know that. So I echo some of what other people said and add in longer than you think you need is your launch timeline.
Yes. In romantic comedy, it's hockey for some reason. I'm not sure
Yeah.
why, but hockey has just exploded, and I'm like, oh no, I'm just
Mhm.
gonna stick with my Paris romances because I don't have time to learn everything about hockey
You don't
right
have time to learn hockey. I mean, who does?
Right,
Unless you're already a fan. I know.
exactly. So much fun. Okay, great points. Excellent points. And that is, I think, a great benefit of there's lots of writing communities. I mean, Book Launch in a Box obviously is not the only marketing community either, but community, find one, even if it's not ours. You've got to be in one. All right, Linda.
It was great listening to you guys, and what your individual journeys leads me to my point, and that is the great thing about women in publishing and the BLAB community and all the programs is that you do it at your own pace. Somebody mentioned the fire hose, and I'd already written fire hose down. There's so much information that comes at you, especially early on, that you don't know how to sort through it. Okay, you don't even know what the difference is between, you know, book funnel and book bub. Oh yeah. One is that okay. And so then you can start sorting through when the information comes to you, you know, a category to put it into. And the best thing I learned as I got in the middle of reissuing these 10 books that I got back that were reread to me. Can you imagine? Okay, books that I published 25 years before, I get a chance to edit them. I'm a different writer now. I'm more educated. I got to tell you, it was a good thing because I refreshed them. They needed refreshing, but also I could get really bogged down in kind of rewriting. And about halfway through my decision to reissue, I thought, you know, I'm not going to do anything but upload them, have my husband, my dear husband, upload them to Amazon and the other retailers. I'm not going to do any marketing right now because when my audience goes to my website, it's out of date. And I too come out of theater. And the very worst thing you can do to an audience is to disappoint them in some way, to have
Mm.
them go someplace where your stuff isn't there. So I've been on the download ever since I decided that it's not me to, you know, rush a refresh and then market it. And then that gets in the way of me refreshing another book. So everything's been on the down low. And Blab has given me the freedom to think that way because I know that all these resources are going to be there for me when I need them. And I can see we're just putting out the last book now. And
Yay.
so I'm going to start writing again, actually, really writing new
Whoop,
books
whoop.
that came out of a series that I didn't know I was writing. And and I've been collecting marketing ideas and things I'm going to do, and that campaign will go out targeted to my backlist. You know, it'll be like, this is Linda, this is, you know, and I write those old fashioned, you know, steamy historical romances. So I'm ready to go out with me and my books in a kind of a splash. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And again, stopping by my BLAB community and using the resources that I have gained and the friends I have gained. And, you know, I really learn from other people's experiences when I learn about, you know, Cece's experience or Zariah's experience of releasing their books or what they ran into in their marketing programs. Again, put that in a category. I put it away and say, aha. In fact, you should see my pages I've got pages of things that I've been writing down because you guys are, you know, my treasures. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I love that. What a nice way to wrap this up because, you know, that's the thing is that I feel like it's my job to provide best practices, to provide the tools and the resources, and then it's your job to apply those when you need them and how you need them. And with what works best for you as a marketer and what works for your genre. So I'm glad that it's working out that way. I specifically handpicked these 5 women because they have been my biggest cheerleaders, my ride or dies, show up all the time in different ways and different places and different things. And I wanted to give them the opportunity not only to market my program, but I wanted to be able to show them off to our community too and help y'all market as well. So the last thing we're going to do here is to make sure each one of you gets an opportunity to tell everyone how to find you and what you do, if you offer services, where your books are, all those wonderful things. So we'll just go back in our normal order because that's easiest, and then we don't have anyone like, ah. Okay, so Linda, off you go.
Almost all of my old manuscript, old books are up on all the retailers very quietly. This is the book. This is the Brainstorming Your Novel. From the first spark to blockbuster. First spark was a term that Pam Shepard came up with. You've got the first spark there. That's your word. Doesn't that sound like Pam?
Yes, it does.
And you can also find that everywhere. I don't have it in audio yet because I should do it, and I have not done it yet. I mean, if it's my workshop, I should give it. So anyway, so lindaneedham.com, and it's not very up to date right now. So give me about 6 months. So maybe, a fall of 2025, and everything should be up there and fresh, and we'll keep it fresh. So thank you.
But Brainstorming Your Novel is definitely available on Amazon and other retailers, correct?
Yes, it is. And I did a workshop with Women in Publishing. As part of the series. So so there's a module up there somewhere that has that on there. So at least, part of it as a workshop.
I'll add that into the notes too. Okay, thanks. Great. Cece.
All right. Well, awesome. This is my first novel, Divided, and it's won a few awards. And it's in Kindle Unlimited, so you can go there and read. But also, if you want, check out my website. I always tell authors to join email lists for others in their genre to know what they're doing. And that's kind of one of my pro moves. And I also subscribe to other authors, indie authors that are highly successful outside of my genre. And I get some of my best tips there. So if you join my newsletter list at ccrobinsonauthor.com/Alexa's Pub Chat, so no apostrophe in that, you'll get this little baby for free in ebook. This is my post-apocalyptic prequel. So join me, and you're welcome to lurk.
And I have to say, Upheaval is fantastic. I read it in a day and a half, and I just really enjoyed it. So I've got all your books on my Kindle, FYI. Some of them are just easier for me to have a moment to read through quickly. But no, it's great. So thank you very much. All right, Zariah, you're up.
Okay, so once again, Zariah L. Banks. I am a contemporary romance author. I have 2 books out right now, Beauty Beheld, which is a 4-time award-winning novel, as well as Mistletoed, Towed. He is a tow truck driver, so it's a cute little wordplay there. Those 2 are available, and then I'm releasing 4 titles this year, so this is a really great time to start following me on Instagram and seeing what I have cooking. I'm also a book coach and an award-winning developmental editor. I really specialize in big picture editing and helping you to see what's working in your story, what's not. And then I'm also a publishing consultant, so I can help you with some of those snafus that we kind of get into sometimes with getting our books out there, which distributors to use and how to really widen your reach. So those are my areas of specialty. So you can go to legacybookcoaching.com to get a little bit more information on how to connect with me.
Wonderful. And we're going to have you do some more workshops with us too, because you should. All right. Okay, Tracy.
I guess I don't have to put my book up because it's already in my back screen.
Speaking of smart marketing, okay, I'm going to just make sure I take a picture of this because yes, that's one amazing smile, Tracy. That's one wonderful way to make sure everybody knows what your book is.
Yeah. Well, when you have the back screen, everything goes out of focus. So when you put the book up, you have to make sure it's in front of you.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So this is way easier. Um, I'm on Amazon, obviously, and Kindle Unlimited has been really good to me. There's a lot of readers in there, and they just love that kind of stuff, I guess. Post-apocalyptic romantic thriller is very popular right now.
Yes.
I know Cece's got lots going on in her book too. And what else? Escape is book 1 of 7, and most of them are written. I just have to get through that. But book 2 will be out eventually. Everybody can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm under T Myhre Writer. I'm sure I have a Facebook book page, author page, and that's where I am.
That's wonderful. And you know what we need to work on this year in BLAB is we need to work on like a rapid release of like books 2 through 5 or something like that. Or get 2 out there and then do rapid release of the others because I bet you your stuff would just explode if you rapid released a number of them at one time. So
And I have
challenge.
a website too. So my website's tracymyhre.com.
And that's Myhre.
Yeah.
I think most of the other names are spelled fairly normal. I'll have them in but Zariah is a little different. So that's Zariahl Banks. We've got Linda Needham, even though she says it Needham, Needham. And all of these will be in the show notes, in the links on the podcast. You can get to all of those at womeninpublishingsummit.com/podcast. And then last, but certainly not least, Pat.
My website is patblackgould.com. I'm on Amazon, also on Unlimited, and I have the Crystal Beads, Locke's Journey about the hidden shadow of the Holocaust. And you can go to Purple Butterfly Press and also see information on that as well. And my historical fiction novel that takes place in the 60s and 70s, sort of coming of age during the Vietnam War era, is All the Broken Angels. And that's also available on Kindle Unlimited, Ingram as well. And I actually do workshops. And thanks to Alexa, I had the opportunity to start and now continue workshops on how to do creative presentations. And I'm doing that, and that's really working well. And I also do one on genre hopping, how to
Mhm.
change various different styles, from playwright to children's book author to historical fiction novel to short story or whatever. So I do that for writers as well. So
I think the creative presentations is also really important because you teach the skills for a lot of fiction authors don't know how, and not just fiction, authors don't know how to create that stage presence and how to get out there and do those. And we all know,
exactly.
or if you don't know, getting out in front of like a live community is a really good way to grow your audience and the people who are want to engage with you. So that's fun and exciting stuff too.
It is. It is. It's probably my most fun thing to do is to present. If I could just go out there and do presentations, I'd be very happy.
I think you are probably a minority on that topic with of most authors. Most people are like, how do I never be live and in person? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I wish I could help you with that. But at some point you're gonna have, well, I mean, some people do it. Right. Like I said, there's lots of ways to market. And I think one of the things is finding what you're the most comfortable with and really, really doubling down in those areas. But did you have something else to say, Pat?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I could work with people on how to get them to feel more comfortable, and how to present. And it sounds like it's hard to do, but trust me, if you do every other form of marketing, you can do this. You can.
Well, and what I like to tell
Yeah.
people is there was a time, believe it or not, where I would have melted to pieces at the thought of speaking in front of anybody. So you can overcome that. I promise
Okay.
you, it can be overcome with practice and skills, just like
It
everything
really
else.
can.
Well, I just want to thank all of you for your time today. I think this was a really great session with lots of meaningful information for folks to take away, whether they decide to join our next cohort or not. You're all wonderful, amazing writers, and I'm so glad to be part of your journeys and can't wait to see all the books that are coming out in the next couple of years. So thank you so much, and we'll be following and cheering you on the whole way.
Thank you all.